بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, Lord of the universe. Salutations be upon His Messenger and greetings. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima 'allamtana. O Allah, grant us knowledge which shall benefit us and benefit us through what you have already taught us. وزدنا علما يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. And increases knowledge to bring us closer to you, O the most merciful of those who show mercy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to our next lesson on the refinement of souls of Imam Ibn Atā'illah al-Sikandari rahimahullahu ta'ala. And today we're going to carry on from last week's discourse about the struggle against the self and how we need to be working on ourselves. And one of the obstacles that we have on this path, and that really is a hurdle that we have to get over in our lives, is a lack of knowledge, a gap in our knowledge. Often we don't know what we need to do as Muslims. We may think we know how to pray and fast and purify ourselves, but how often do people not know that this is not allowed in purification? You need to purify yourself. You can't do this. You have to pray in this way. This invalidates your prayer. When you're fasting and Ramadan is approaching, are you allowed to do this or not? Oh, I didn't know that broke the fast. There's many occasions, many circumstances where individuals, Muslims, come and they think they come with questions. They come with their issues, and they talk as though things are okay, or then there's no problems. And when you hear the details of their issues and what they talk about, you realize how ignorant and lack of knowledge there is. And this is the obstacle, because you cannot get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and practice Islam except based on sound knowledge, except based on the foundation of ilm. Allah does not accept our prayers without wudu, without purification of the outer and the inner. And Allah does not accept our worship and our actions except that they should be based on sound knowledge. And to have salah, to have wudu, takes learning and struggling against one's weaknesses, one's whims, one's sort of personal desires, in order to learn, in order to go out there, to sit with the teacher, to sacrifice one's time and energy and efforts. And we do this for everything else in life, for our sustenance. We work, we learn, we study, we prepare for interviews, we sacrifice, we struggle, we go against our whims and desires in order to get a living, in order to make money, in order to get something. We do it for other things in life. We may have a project we're a part of, and we sacrifice time and we invest our time to make some kind of project with our friends, whether it be a personal kind of thing, it could be anything in electronics, in design or something. We're excited about our things in art and so forth. We do that because we feel a sense of achievement, a sense of belonging. There's an outcome and a benefit in those things for us, as we see. The greatest outcome, the greatest benefit of life that we could attain is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get that little bit closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our every action and movement. And this requires knowledge. This requires that same struggle, that same effort that we put everywhere else. We need to put it into our lives when it comes to connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Imam Ibn Atā'illah says. He says, look at people and how they throw away their efforts and lives and their energy, and they think they're doing great and they think they're achieving a lot, but all they're really doing is throwing away their time, wasting their capital, wasting their energy, and wasting everything. And in the end they will find in the end, when there's nothing to receive, what you send forward is what you're going to receive. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you send forward of good, you will find with Allah. تَجِدُوا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ وَخَيْرًا وَأَعْظَمُ أَجْرًا. And that is better for you and greater in reward. This is what Allah tells us in the Qur'an. It's better for you. خَيْرًا وَأَعْظَمُ أَجْرًا. That's much more greater in reward than ajr is the same word used for your wage, when you do a job, or your monthly salary. This is the greater reward. What you send forward for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you'll find that تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. You'll find it with Allah. And that's the best of places to find anything. That's the everlasting acts of worship. Al-Baqiyatu Salihat khayrun inda rabbika. The everlasting pious deeds are better with your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these are the acts of worship and struggles that we need to put forward. And then he in his discourse, we'll share some of it here. He says, whoever spends his well-being and health in disobedience to Allah is like someone whose father has left behind for him 1,000 dinars, which he buys snakes and scorpions and puts them around himself. The latter stings him and the other bites him. Will they not kill him? You waste hours in opposition to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thus you are merely like a kite, which a vulture type predatory bird, which hovers over a carcass. Wherever it finds it, it lands on it. Be like the bee. So Allah gives us examples of different animals in the Quran. One of them is the bee. Be like the bee, small in size but great in its aspiration. What does it do? As it collects goodness and spreads goodness. The honey we benefit from is from the bee and the honeybee, and that's goodness for everyone. There's cure in there, there's food in there, there's shifa, there's well-being in there, and that's what we need to do. We need to collect good and spread the good. Right? This is really what it's all about. Our lives should be one of aspiring to attain good for ourselves first and foremost, and strengthen ourselves to be good people, and then to move on to helping others and spreading the good that is around us. And then finally he asks, also he guides us to reawakening our hearts, reviving our hearts. Our hearts are dead and our hearts need some resuscitation, revival. There's something needed. I'm talking about the physical heart here, we're talking about the spiritual heart, and this spiritual revival is to be found in the blessed times, in the blessed places. The night of Isra al-Mi'raj, which has recently passed, in the days and nights of Ramadan, where we find goodness, where we find Allah's blessings. We go to certain places, as we mentioned last time, places, times and people amongst the pious. You have to go to those places. You have to make journeys to the Haram, to Mecca, to Medina, to journeys to teachers, to sit with them, to people of piety and learn from them, and to get their du'as, to use the times that Allah gives us in our lives, in the special nights, in the month of Ramadan, in the month of Dhul Hijjah. Every night Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls out, is there anybody who's done wrong and seeks forgiveness, so I can forgive him? Every night Allah is calling out to the creation. It's a time of repentance, a time of tahajjud, the night prayer. Who stands? وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Allah describes the believers, the successful ones, those who are close to Him, as the ones who are bil-ashar, in the pre-dawn, early, late night, early morning, early dawn, pre-dawn, ashar, the sahar time. يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ, they're seeking the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we need to make ourselves available, because once you give that little bit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives you so much back in return. So one of the places we should go to and we should find is the masajid. That's where the angels are. When I was, I remember this actually, when I was, long time ago, maybe 10-15 years ago, I was struggling with myself like everyone struggles, and I went to a teacher and I asked, what can I do? And this is maybe advice for people who maybe don't have a lot of support networks around them. And he said, look, who's with you? And I said, I'm alone. There's nobody. Because there's nobody in your community where you are. Like, okay, there are people, but it's not like I can go to them and there's support networks. Everyone at some stage may find this. So the teacher said, go to the masjid. Go to the masjid, because you'll find the angels there. So try and spend as much time as you can in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At least you'll be in the presence of angels, in the presence of the dhikr of Allah, the name of Allah, the Qur'an, the salah, and you'll find some spiritual strength there. So there's so many blessings. This is an example that alhamdulillah I actually benefited from, and I used to spend more time in the masjid, I remember. And I think, if I look back and look at the factors in my life that may have affected me and helped me, I think that, and that there is a hadith that says that, there's a special rank for those who are connected to the masajid. قَلْبُهُ مُتَعَلِّقٌ بِالْمَسَاجِد. Right? His heart is attached to the masajid. Like ta'alluq is an attachment. It's not merely we go and come back. There's something that he leaves, he wants to go back. And alhamdulillah, that was something I think at that point in my life, it really helped me to understand the value of the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a place that Allah blesses. And this is the beauty of masajid. when they are made, when they are used, when they are there for the Muslims. And this is it's a trademark of the Muslims. Wherever they went, they opened masajid. Wherever they established Islam and people followed Islam and converted, a masjid is built. And without a masjid, there's like no sort of heart to the community. It's that nucleus. So this is, I mean, we got off topic a little bit, but Imam Ibn Atā'illah is talking about going to the places, the people, and using the times that will be beneficial for you to become a person of obedience and to avoid disobedience. Because if you're in these places, you're going to be taking yourself away. You know, your feet are going to be walking away from disobedience. Your mind is going to be further away from disobedience. Your heart will be closer to obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the good places. So this is the advice that Imam Ibn Atā'illah rahimahullah ta'ala gives. And he then moves on to seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Final point he actually mentioned, which I'll read here. He said, do not ask about the point of attending the gathering. So the gatherings in the masajid, wherever they are, wherever you find a gathering of the remembrance of Allah, do not ask about the point. Go there because it's obvious that's where the blessings are. Says, do not ask about the point of attending the gatherings whilst in a state of disobedience. Whilst I'm doing bad, why should I go? Which you are unable to forsake. So here, this idea of I'm struggling to maintain my obedience. Rather, what should we do? The archer should shoot, and even if he does not hit the target today, then he will do so tomorrow. One day, as long as you keep trying, as you keep attending, you keep doing tawbah, you keep turning back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you try to go to the masjid on that one occasion or that weekly gathering that you have access to. You keep on trying. One day, don't say, oh, I go, I don't benefit, I go, I don't benefit, I go, I don't benefit. No, one day you will benefit. One day that benefit is a benefit every week, inshallah, but one day that benefit will be a lasting impact. One day that will become something that actually changes you for the better and takes you away from the wrong and the evil in your life for good. Alhamdulillah, we take the advice of our teachers, our shaykh, and this is something important because life is a struggle. Nobody says you have to do it correct the first time or you will get it right the first time. Every moment of our lives is a struggle. Every moment can be a success or a challenge, a hurdle for future success. I mean, we shouldn't call things failures in our lives because they're not. They're learning curves. There are times for us to review and go back and try again and try harder and keep trying and not give up. And this it's not a case of we're allowed to give up in Islam, and we shouldn't fall into despair, and we shouldn't fall into thinking that we can never be forgiven, which is what Imam Ibn Atā'illah talks about and asks us to think about the mercy, the vast mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which we'll talk about inshallah ta'ala in future sessions. Barakallahu feekum. Thank you for being a part of this these weekly sessions on the refinement of souls of Imam Ibn Atā'illah Sakandari. Thank you to Imam Ghazali Institute for being the hosts. And jazakumullah khairan walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.